For those of you who are used to wiping on a particular level all night, 6 hours or longer, we know that pain. Folks, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is one of the episodes that just came to me when I was actually participating in some of the hobbies that I deal with. We all have things we do outside of work. And when it comes to video games, I have a very good friend of mine that you're going to get a chance to meet here in a little bit. And I thought of him immediately when there was a pattern that seemed to come up. And I was playing games, and I play games with other people. These are games where you'll play with maybe one other person or two or more, up to 40. And an interesting pattern showed up where if you've got a very clear objective, like defeating this dragon or this big monster or getting to the end of this hard, dungeon or level, even when all of that was clear and everyone had, the same amount of resources and tools they have everything that they need, people still argue. They still fight. And there are these clashes about how are we going to approach this puzzle? How are we going to beat this monster? And in product work, in working with teams, the clarity is not always there. And I immediately thought of my good friend Troy, because it was, think about all these fights that we've had to listen to playing video games with other people and the parallels of what happens. And so if you're listening to this podcast right now and you work with teams, this is for you. But if you like video games, this is specifically for you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, Troy. Troy, thank you so much for joining for this episode, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
You were literally the first person I thought of when I said we should do this, because we play quite a bit of games. Before we get into that, though, I was just curious, a few things for our listeners. What are some of the things that you'd like to share with those listening right now? Just a couple things about yourself.
Well, my name is Troy. I'm from the East Coast in the USA. And yes, I've known Chris for, six years, 7 years, something like that. I don't know. It's been a while. In my professional life, I have a couple of things. I'm kind of a product manager / product director right now for work. Kind of oversee a group of teams who are working on some products at scale, and everything from, I own the ROI of the ideas and the features, seeing through the development and the release, and hiring people, forming the teams, changing the teams, all the whole shebang, dealing with customers, stuff like that. So that's part of my full-time job, as well as I am a kind of a long-time trainer for prokanban.org with Dan Vicanti. So I kind of apply my flow knowledge and skills to the product world. Personally, I am married, have a daughter who's 4 years old, and happy about that. And one of the couple hobbies I have, I don't have as much time for it anymore, but gaming. So once in a while, I still games. Chris and I, especially during the COVID times, we used to play a lot. We used to play a lot when there was not much else to do. And then, and I listen to a lot of music. So I actually have a podcast on YouTube. It's a YouTube channel called Music and Words Unite, where we do like album reviews and in-depth music discussions. So I buy a lot of vinyl records, and I have a music listening room in my basement, and sit and listen to music and take notes and make episodes about it. So that's like my hobby.
That's a great hobby, man. And I'm so happy to have connected with you on these hobbies to talk about it. Folks, the podcast is really good. Please make sure to tune in for that. And if you're a fan of, ABBA, for instance, you'll hear some really good stuff. I got to throw that shout out. That's really, really good stuff. Right. But you heard Troy mention that we played a lot of games, especially in like the COVID era when people were at home, we weren't on the road as much. Troy and I share a lot of interests from being in the classroom, working with students, playing games, listening to music. But that games angle comes up a lot, like especially with teams and working as teams. And you had mentioned you were working with teams now. I was just curious if you could maybe share also for our listeners, with respect to working with teams, what are some of the things that like you enjoy the most about being in like that kind of group setting?
I thrive on, it's going to sound weird, but I thrive on the pressure, because and what I mean is the pressure to deliver, right? So you're trying to deliver something. And one of the things about product delivery, which probably people listening have experienced, is that a lot of times you'll do all this work to write requirements and prep all this stuff, and then you go deliver it, and it doesn't have the value you think, right? So the pressure to not spend a lot of money to find out if you're wrong or right ideas, and You only have so much cash, so you're burning through that every day. So that pressure of trying to deliver and working with the people, and when you actually deliver the stuff and you get people using it, it is like I don't know. It feels like winning. It's almost like a sport to me in a weird way. I feel like competitive with myself. Can I help? Can I remove blockers for teams? Right. And then what happens is the teams are amazing because when it actually works, you're like, wow, they actually built this. It was just something I helped facilitate the idea for, right? Or, the delivery of. But overall, like the people doing the work. And also, I love when they come up with ideas, which I go, oh, I never would have thought of that. That's way better than my idea. So that kind of collaboration with teams and having them solution combined with yourself and coworkers is, I find a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Collaborating and winning as a group is always a fun
That's
thing.
it.
It's almost like beating a boss together, going through that sweaty nightfall.
There you go. There you go. It makes all the sleepless nights.
It makes all the sleepless nights. Yes. For those of you who are used to wiping on a particular level all night, 6 hours or longer. We know that pain. Last little thing, Troy, and this can be personally or professionally. For me, I'm really big on watch collecting. Is something that's another one of my hobbies. Sure. And also going through type of practices and ways that I can actually get ready for the day and sustain myself. So I have this whole thing I talk about with myself about winding my watch, where it's like every morning, what kind of practices we go through. And I like to wear wristwatches, and a lot of them have to deal with, I've got to wind them a little bit. Here's the watch I'm going to wear today. I'm going to put some energy into this thing. And you know what? It's going to sustain me and help carry me through the day. It's just something that's personal to me. And so I was just curious, either professionally or personally, is there something that like you're putting your energy into like right now that helps you like, metaphorically wind your watch and really helps you get going?
Yeah, I would say the music listening. In fact, I'll give you a sample of some things recently. So the channel we started is all about, I got stuck I used to love going and buying CDs when I was a teenager and bringing them home and sitting down and just doing nothing but listening to the album front to back and reading the lyrics and all that. A couple years ago, I was at your house and we were listening to some records, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get into this again. So started collecting records and started the channel. And the channel is cool because it's all about, I'll buy a record without hearing it, go listen to it and do a review. And I have a partner who on the channel who knows a lot about music as well. And he recommends things for me and vice versa. So, and then we started to build a community, and that's what I want to talk about, the passion. So we have a community of people who watch our channel who recommend things to us, and we'll go and check their ideas out too, not just our own. So here's one that I discovered that I had never listened to before. This is Tango in the Night by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, we were just talking about that.
Yes. Fantastic album, an album I had never heard before, and really loved it. We put an episode about that. Another one here. This is one that I have a friend who comes over and we drink bourbon and listen to records. And he recommended this to me, and I freaking love this album. This is Floodland by Sisters of Mercy. From 1987, and can't recommend this one enough. And last but not least, you mentioned ABBA. We had a hardcore, longtime ABBA fan come and listen to one of my favorite records and review it. Ooh. And he actually did Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins. He reviewed that and never really listened to this kind of music before. So it was a fascinating episode. And this is an original pressing. It's pretty rare, by the way.
Is that the one? This is the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
Original near mint pressing, very rare. Okay, so there you go. All right. No, that's what I've been putting it into. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And to connect with people, to get excited about things. And folks, if you like music, you should check that podcast out. Now, Troy and I can talk about music and have for hours on end, but for this episode, what I was really inspired by was thinking about some of these scenarios that we would run into when playing games. And there's a few that kind of bubble to the top that seem to really marry up with how project teams work. One of the games that Troy was sharing with me, I played a game that was similar to it, but I think it was Marathon. You've been playing for a little bit. That's an extraction shooter, right?
That is, yep.
Okay. If you could just sum up quickly for our listeners, what if they've never heard of what an extraction shooter is, and unfortunately I now know what they are and the pain that comes with them, please share with them the misery known as an extraction shooter and what it's just a little bit on it.
Okay, so if you've ever seen Rocky 3, when when Mr. T is asked what's going to happen to Rocky, he said pain. And then essentially, how you sum up an extraction shooter in one word is pain. And the reason for that is because it's a game where you get brought into like a 25-minute timed game, and you try to go in and get loot, right? And the loot could be in the map, but most of the time, the best loot is on other people. And so it's a combination of a PvE game where there's computer enemies, and a PvP game where there's other teams that are kind of competing in the same environment as you. So for 25 minutes, there might be you, a team of 3, and then 5 other teams of 3 in the same area. And you can run into them and you can shoot each other and fight. And if you beat them, you get their gear and you lose it forever. So essentially, you could go through multiple games and be winning and collect all this great gear, go take all this gear that you were so proud of winning and lose it within 1 minute. And the game is actually very fun if you enjoy pain, like I must. So, yes. You know why? Because when you actually do win, it is so rewarding, So it's one of those rewarding.
Yeah. It feels like a relief. No, extraction shooters, we're going to mentioning that. But another type of game that I'm going to be referencing a little bit, the World of Warcraft. This is one of those massively multiplayer online type games where you create a character and you get to pick what kind of character you're going to be. And kind of like Troy was mentioning earlier, going out, getting some gear, loot, treasure. When people use the term loot quite a bit. And your character grows and develops, and you can experience the game by yourself. Sometimes you'll group up with other people. You'll do little 5-man, like go into a dungeon, we have to clear this castle kind of thing, and you're playing with 4 other people, but you're playing against the environment, computer players. There are servers where you can play against other people, but the majority of the examples and what most people play with is me against this world. Sometimes you'll go into bigger environments and what we call raids. And so Troy and I have talked about this before, where imagine coordinating 10 people or 20 people, or 25 people, or my first experiences with this was with 40 people, all trying to kill one big dragon. And so the coordination, the interactions, there's a lot of planning and discussion and trying to figure out how do we make the group work and what you're supposed to do. And it can be really exhilarating and fun when you all beat the big monster together. And then everyone could maybe get some pieces of armor or some swords or new spells, and everyone's really excited for that. But there's some trials and tribulations with that as well. Because when you die or you lose a roll for a crossbow that you really, really wanted for your little hunter, and then you don't get it, your friend gets mad and then he breaks his computer. That is a true story. But again, there's people that you're playing with, all trying to accomplish some things. So you'll hear a little bit about that. And another game that is near and dear to both of our hearts, and actually, I think this is how we met, playing Destiny. Mm-hmm, is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'd love, and folks, if you know what these games are, you're like, just get to it, boys. And it's like, yeah, I know. But some of our listeners might not be familiar with these. Troy, if you could maybe sum up Destiny, not like compare and contrast the other two, but just in a nutshell, what was Destiny? And if you want to do 1 and 2, that's okay.
Okay.
But just what would Destiny be?
Destiny is basically Halo meets an MMORPG, like a Phantasy Star Online, or if that makes any sense to people. But it's basically an MMORPG where there's many people online at the same time, right? And it's an RPG where you have these characters that you build over time and collect gear, and then you have to go fight the big monsters together. And there's like that PvE side of it. And then it's like an arena shooter style Halo type of player versus player game. It's kind of, so you basically go and you fight the big monsters with your friends. You take that gear and you take it to an arena shooter and shoot other players around the world. And so there's this feedback loop of, I do this thing, I get gear, I get to use it against real people and back and forth. And for many, many years, it was extremely fun.
It was the beautiful game for a long time. I mean, talk about these games we're talking about. I know Marathon is a little bit more, new to some folks, but an interesting tie that kind of brings all these together, kind of like we've been talking about, playing with other people. There's the element of you are interacting with other people in some way, shape, or form on a team or against them, trying to make things happen. And there's other times when, frankly, you have a limited amount of time. And thinking about that, we even would have like a limited amount of resources, like health potions or, the number of times you could revive somebody in case they get knocked out, or even ammunition, for these shooter games. And just in thinking about that, it's almost like these boundaries that we deal with at work. Like, hey, we've got a trade show coming, or like, hey, there's a product launch coming, and you don't have all the time in the world. You only have X amount of days in the week, X amount of weeks in the month, only so much time in the sprint. Realistically, I think it's part of where some of the stress and some of these negative feelings that really cause these clashes to show up. If we've only got a certain amount of time to do something, well, hey, we got to pick the most efficient way forward. And then when things kind of rear their head, that's when things get a little bit scary. So with Troy, if you would indulge me, I was wondering if we maybe could dive into a couple of these different flashpoints, if you will, that cause some of these clashes. When people start to argue about what strategy to use, here's how we need to beat the boss. And when I say this, if you're a gamer and you're listening to this, you probably have felt this pain. This is a scenario where you're in the room and you're about to engage the big dragon, and everyone is ready to go, and then a discussion starts. And you start to hear, well, I think we should do this. Well, if we hide behind this rock at this time, then there's this. Well, no, if the mages go over there, if we do that, well, we have, and then you end up talking more about trying it. And then like, guys, I got to go to bed. And then people start to nod off. Have you ever seen anything, people arguing about how to beat the boss? You ever seen anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, first I'll start with gaming and we'll talk about work after that. So gaming, yes. I mean, it happens all the time. In fact, especially in a game like Destiny, where you're reliant on your teammates to actually achieve a goal, right? And the thing is, like most things in life, people can have egos. And that applies to gaming pretty extreme, believe it or not, for those who don't game. For some reason, certain gamers have big egos, and I don't know why. But people have opinions, and they go, well, I do it this way, and then I do it this way. Well, I watch some YouTuber who does it this way. And it's like, guys, can we just try some way? And we'll figure out, somebody who has some experience, please just tell everybody what to do, and we'll follow you, and we'll try to learn that way, And if it doesn't work, we'll switch. But it's better than spending, literally, I've spent 30 minutes waiting to even start an encounter because people are debating what to do, like they're about in a video game.
It's just this interesting tug of war you see with like the people who are in like those leadership positions. Maybe they've crafted a strategy, or, what do you all want to do this time? And I think you and I have probably experienced those teams where it's almost like, let's go for consensus on every single thing, all the way down to where are we going to lunch? Have you ever seen anything like that?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And in fact, the worst of it, for me, the worst is like when you have multiple options to try to achieve something. So the thing about product development, as most of you probably know, is it's a series of probabilities, basically, right? What's going to work, especially if it's not exactly known, especially if it's something new that you're trying to do. So in that case, people will spend, Chris, I'll give you an example. Last year, I was working on something, and somebody spent 6 weeks analyzing different solutions to basically doing something that should probably take 8 weeks to do. I'm just estimating, right? They spent 6 weeks figuring out what are the different possible solutions, and then didn't pick one. And then essentially we pick one, and then we get 2 weeks into it, and they find out all that 6 weeks of work was waste. So 6 weeks of analysis. And the point is, like, that's just one example. And that 6 weeks was because of a lot of different opinions. Essentially, it wasn't just one person's fault.
So just to catch me up, in those 6 weeks, were they trying something and then doing the analysis on that attempt? Or was it just
listening to opinions? So essentially, I got to call this person and meet with this person. And then this person's busy until next week, so I have to meet with them. And then I can't make a decision until I meet with this person. And then I met with this person, and I met with 5 people, and they have 5 different opinions. And then I'm not sure what to do. So, okay. So Troy, what should we do? That's like, okay.
Okay.
It's been 6 weeks.
Right. 6 weeks of that. So it wasn't experimentation and trying something. It was, okay. So is this would this be a close parallel? Is it like if we were thinking about going to like do something in Destiny, we're going after a particular boss in Destiny. Is that like us watching videos of other people like killing the boss in different ways. We're like, that's how they defeated the boss. And then that's how they defeated the boss. And that's how they defeated the boss. But we never try it ourselves. We're just watching parts of the video and then asking people, what do you think? And 3 people think video 1 and 2 people think video 2. And well, we have to wait and hear for Paul because he has to watch video 4. And is that more of what those 6 weeks
Chris,
were?
Imagine if you did all that and you went to actually try it after doing all those videos, and then the gaming company changed something that you did it because the 6 weeks. So when you go do it, it doesn't work anyway. And then you have to go back to the drawing board. Essentially that kind of stuff. I mean, I could see spending 6 weeks on analysis, something very big, right? Like something that's going to be multi-year thing, a long time. I'm talking about something that might take 8 weeks to do, like a handful of, like a feature or two, a couple features or something to build. So essentially, like, and this is just the human nature. Like, people tend to get stuck in analysis paralysis and wanting consensus from everybody before anybody's afraid to make a decision, right? Instead of just trying one solution. And so, for example, there's something that we're going through right now, where instead of doing this, we said, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to spend like 2 days. Everybody come back in 2 days with some ideas for this solution. We came back with like 3 different ways of doing it. We said, okay, we're going to spend small amount of time to build an MVP of this way, small amount of time to do an MVP of this way. It'll be throwaway, but we could do it in like a week.
Try it out. Right? Try it. Run an experiment.
Exactly. And by doing that, we learned way more. That would have taken us, and this is a big thing, so it might have taken us weeks to even come up with, a potential solution that might not work. So there's a Woody Zool who's kind of coined for, he claimed he didn't invent mob programming, but that's what he's kind of a coin for.
If I hear mob, I think of Woody. Woody, if you're listening, buddy, sending good vibes, buddy.
He has this quote and he says, "It's in the doing of the work that you find the work you must do." And I think that is a very wise quote. Instead of just sitting there again trying to get consensus from every single person on the team, somebody with some knowledge that you trust, either come up with one way or try it, or 2 ways, and try it in parallel, and even if it's throwaway, it's like product management is just a series of trade-offs, right? It's a trade-off from a week's worth of money for these people versus spending 6 weeks in analysis to not even know if you're going to be able to do that way anyway. You know what I mean? It's all a series of trade-offs. So,
and we're talking money. I mean, this is time. This is money. Somebody is spending it. Taxpayers might be spending it. Right. And it's like, if we lower the stakes, though, and we're just playing a game, this is what's fascinating to me, that people are just so dug in about, I want to kill the dungeon, or I want to clear this dungeon. I'm glad that I'm doing it with you, but as long as we do it the way I really prefer it. Say somebody is in one of these analysis paralysis, people are arguing about the best way forward, and we're not even taking a step. For those people who find themselves in those situations, thinking about that, somebody in that leadership type role, like that guild officer, and then thinking of also, members. What are some things maybe you could offer up to them? Like, hey, if you find yourself here, here's something that you would want to lean into, something you could try out, an experiment you could run.
Don't be afraid to make a decision as long as you calculate the risk of making that decision, right? The risk of being wrong about spending a week building a little POC could be relatively low compared to the risk of spending 6 weeks to go and analyze the perfect solution, spend another 8 weeks to build it, and then realize, oh, that was wrong, right? So don't be afraid to make decisions. Also, this is going to sound very counter to the way some people think out there, and maybe the way I did when I was young. But sometimes the boss coming in and just saying, you're doing this, just aligns people, and then you shut up and do it.
I couldn't feel that anymore, like in my stomach of this. Sometimes somebody says, no, this is what we're doing. Because realistically, not everybody always should have an equal voice in some things, but you have to have the right people that understand, like, this is the interactions that we have. This is the relationship we have. If Troy says we're going to go around this side of the wall versus this side of the wall, okay, Troy makes the call. He's the guild leader. Okay, we're going to do that. On that, I kind of want to talk about another one of these like clashes that happens when people are figuring out, what do we want to do? How do we want to approach this challenge? Some voices seem to get more airtime or more, I don't know, their opinions, their ideas, their thoughts get listened to a little bit more than maybe somebody else. It's not an equal footing. I recently had an issue with a group that I would play a game with. This was in Warcraft, where we had actually invited a guest into the group. This was a 25-person engagement. And so it was like, hey, we're trying to kill all these really hard bosses. We need all this coordination. And this person who nobody knew was like, we should do this, and we should do this, and we should do this. And they ended up like almost taking over the airwaves. And when a couple people, myself included, were like, hey, hang on a second, we got like shut down. Considering about like arguing about how to approach this jumping puzzle or this particular boss in Destiny or something like that. Have you ever seen where maybe one person or like a small group of people get listened to a little bit more in these situations?
Yes. Well, I think it gets problematic when the person who's doing all the talking is not the one who knows the information, or if they think they know the information, or they think they're the experienced one, but they're really not. So my take on that one is, for me, the relief is when I love it. Like if I have friends, I have a couple friends that I play with that I know I trust, right? And nothing's ever going to be perfect. Things aren't always going to go well, right? But at the end of the day, I trust them that out of me and the other people, they know the most, and that's the one I want to hear from the most. They're the voice I want to hear, right? So that's my opinion on that. What about you, Chris? What have you experienced here?
I see kind of like the one I was mentioned before, is that some people just can't help but fill the airwaves. I've played with friends video games. You know how like when you and I will play remotely, not always sit next to each other on the couch. There are some people out there that make content for a living, and they're used to carrying the dead air. And as they play, they're talking or sharing, and the communication is just a constant stream of information. The people who either talk the most or kind of get the nod at times, but that can really, I think you can have some pretty negative impacts on a team. Just like the loudest voice taking us down the wrong hallway in a castle, that's a low stakes situation. But in product development, imagine, the person in the meeting that talks the most getting their way.
Right. Yeah. Yes. That would be a problem. And I think it's important to have strong leadership on a team. And I know the idea that everyone is equal and everyone has this equal amount of say, and we all need to feel consensus. I understand that in some cases, that can work with certain types of personalities and teams. So I don't think this is a one size fits all by any means.
Absolutely.
But from what I've seen, usually it's good to have someone that people trust on the team to make certain calls. That doesn't mean they don't listen to people's opinions. They should, if they're a good leader on the team, right? But ultimately, they make a call and people trust them that they know what they're doing. And if they end up making a mistake, that doesn't mean that the whole team loses faith in them. That just means that they're a human being. As long as there's this model out there called the Cantor 4-player model, and basically it's about, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, go look it up out there. If who's ever watching, and there was a scientist, actually it was a professor. And what he did was he recorded a bunch of married people's conversations, like 24 hours on tapes, and had his like assistants go in and change the tape in their house.
Are you saying that they recorded married conversations, like people, married
correct.
people?
Yes.
You realize how
yes.
like I said, it's like the home stenographer skit we saw.
So for those
of you who are married, you may understand some of these jokes. But I'm sorry. Take us back to.
They just did it like not in like, I'm going to go in for an hour and record. It's like they put the tape recorders on in the background and just let it run. So anyway, the point is he learned these patterns of communication of effective marriages. This is how it all started. And he came out with this model, and it's called the Cantor 4-player model. And the point is there's different behaviors that people have inside of a meeting, inside of a team. And it's just about when you have certain behaviors, for example, you have your followers. So some people just sit there, they'll just do whatever anybody wants. They'll just tell me what to do. I will follow.
No problem.
There are some people who are just constant movers. And what that means is if you think about a game, you're making a move, right? Like a chess piece move. And all they want to do is make moves. It's all about, I'm making a move. I want to do this. I want to do that. And
it's my turn. I'm going to move the piece. I'm going to play the card.
And it's always their turn, right? So
it's always their turn.
Right.
Always their turn.
Right.
Give me the controller.
You have the movers, right? You have the followers. And then you have the bystanders. So you have people who are basically observers, basically, who are really good at observing what's happening and then providing insight. Like someone who steps outside of the box and can do some systems thinking, right? Some different types of personalities and things. So, and then you have the opposers. And those are people who would just oppose everything because they like to oppose.
Serial
right?
contrarians.
Yeah, serial contrarians, right?
Love these. These are my most fun coworkers.
So you have like movers, followers, opposers, and bystanders. And it's funny is if when you look into this research and you learn about these personality traits, you can yourself move your position and kind of play inside of a meeting. You can play all 4 roles. So once you kind of learn about this model, and you will see actually how it moves the meeting. Because what happens is there are these stuck patterns that he came up with, meaning like the people get stuck when this pattern of behavior, when people are only moving and opposing, right? Or, things like that, right? So, or nobody's following. That's one other thing, right? Or everybody's following. So the point is you can learn these stuck patterns and go, oh, I'm observing that this meeting is going nowhere. And then you can come in and offer a bystander perspective. And then you could say, you know what? The last time we ran into this problem, I noticed we tried this and actually it kind of worked, or this didn't work. What if we do this? And then you become a bystander and try for a mover, right? And then the worst, Chris, right, is when you get stuck in the mover opposer and, you're in a raid or whatever, and you can't even start the thing because people are just moving and opposing. No one's willing to follow, and no one's willing to offer a perspective like, you know what? How about Chris has done this 1,000 times? How about we give his idea a shot, everybody? Just that input would be nice. Right?
Just that.
Just that. So anyway, check out the Cancer 4 player.
No, I thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm super glad that came up, and I'm definitely we'll try to make sure to take a look at that, maybe include some of the links in description for everyone to check it out.
There's a book he wrote called Reading the Room, which has all this research in there.
Okay.
And things like that.
Is there anything you can maybe offer each of those 2 perspectives? Like, hey, if you're an officer and you see this, maybe think about this. Hey, if you're a member and you see the situation where voices are unequal, what could you offer them? Try to play
that bystander role. Try to step back from the group and observe what's happening and provide a perspective, right? That's the one thing I'd recommend. Often that's lacking in gaming and in work, right? And that's supposedly what like a coach is supposed to do, right? Someone that's looking from the outside and offering a perspective.
Right? External view.
Yes.
Objective view. I'm not even in the raid. I'm watching it on stream.
Right. 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 And if you are in the raid, just stepping back, removing your ego, right? And saying, okay, how can I help? How can I help this group of people make a decision? All right, I will offer some perspective that I'm seeing. Now, not everyone's going to welcome that. But at the end of the day, nothing's happening anyway, so you might as well.
Nothing's happening.
Right.
Well, and this back to what I was mentioning earlier about like a timer, maybe if the encounter hasn't started, you have 10 minutes to kill this dragon once you engage the dragon, but the clock hasn't started yet because we haven't even engaged the dragon. But that limited amount of time is still there. And I'm wondering if some of that causes some of this. Like, I want my idea to win, unequal voices. It's just, it's interesting. Just even with the clarity of trying to clear a video game. I wish product development was that clear.
Yeah, sure. I wish it had a deterministic end. If it was one way to do it.
I know.
Right.
I know. And meanwhile, even with that clarity, people still act like this. It's pretty amazing.
The hardest part, Chris, before we move on to the next, the hardest part is about what you're describing, and is the how to do it, right? If you don't know exactly how to do it until you try it, like if you have an idea, right, then that is a probability. The value itself in product development is likely a probability, meaning you don't exactly know how much money you're going to make from this. You can estimate it, right? And how long it will take is also a probability. So it's essentially a series of 3 probabilities, which makes it extremely difficult to actually determine what's going to happen. Yeah.
And people like to know what's going to happen.
Right, exactly.
But again, why I called you, it's like even with the clarity of we have 10 minutes to beat this dragon, and we're still having the same argument, the same interaction, the same clash. People. More on people, because we've been talking about teamwork. I wanted to kind of shift it to another kind of like topic that comes up where these clashes happen. And it's around kind of like the part that each person plays. You know, different people bring different skills to the table. Hey, I have a background in this, or these are some of the skills that I do. From games, this happens a lot in kind of the different parts they play. Back to, you know, Warcraft for a second. There's sometimes where you're stepping into a role where I'm the character that's going to have all the monsters hit me, and I'm going to absorb the damage. That's called a tank. Like, hey, I'm going to go tank the monster. And then there's people who are going to do the damage. Like, hey, while you have the monster's attention, I'm going to hit the monster and do the damage. People say DPS. And then there might be another group of people saying, you know what, I'm going to make sure everyone has what they need and make sure that that damage is mitigated or healed. They're called healers. So like, let me remove some status. Let me put some heals on people, make sure everyone stays alive. And so tank, heal, and damage. It's like, hey, you're going to play one of these parts. And this is, you know, from a Warcraft standpoint in other games, you'll see this. But I see this where maybe somebody is really good or proficient at one of those different roles. And maybe there's more of them. And then maybe they're put in a position where it's not exactly what they would maybe want to do. Or it's based on the current composition of the group because you're the only one who knows how to do this thing, or you're the only one available to do this thing. We need you to change what you do for the good of the raid.
Usually you'll have someone on the team who loves learning multiple roles. So they'll be like, because they are the leader type and they don't want things to go awry when they're in there, right? So they will say, okay, I'm going to learn all the roles. So if I need to step in, I'll be able to take care of it. You know, there's those personalities, of course.
And then others who maybe only want to fill one.
Or have no roles. And that could mean all I want to do is just shoot monsters and do nothing. And that's what they want to do. And we
stand on top of that pillar and make sure nothing hits Troy as he wears the magic glasses.
Pretty much, yeah.
Something like that.
That is a role, I guess, but yes.
Well, the interesting thing, just in thinking about this, is that imagine if somebody is forced into one of these roles that either they're not good at or that they don't want to do. Or like they have to do it out of necessity and then they make a mistake and now 5 other people now are upset at them.
Oh boy. Man, I've been asked to do things in these raids that I don't know how to do. And I'm like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And it's like, okay, if I'm giving it a shot, right? And if I make a mistake, because I'm probably going to, if I don't know what I'm doing, people expect that if you just tell somebody one time something, if you do this and you do that, and you have to read this and you read that you're going to be able to retain all the information and actually understand what to do when you do it. And going back to the Woody Zool quote, until you actually do it, you really don't know how to do it. It doesn't matter what YouTube you do.
Get your hands dirty.
You have to experience it. Then you go, oh, okay, I understand what they meant on that YouTube. You don't have an old person, so I'm going to try to play their role. I've never done it before. So you're going to have to give me some grace in this case and give me probably a good 10 minutes of making some mistakes, probably. And that's just part of the accepted, all right, it's not going to go as well because Troy's got a new role, but normally it takes us an hour to do this raid. Maybe it takes us 2 hours. And that's just if you have a cool team, they would expect that, but not everyone's cool.
I was going to say, not everyone's cool. Right. Not everyone's cool. You could be in a group and then they expect you to execute in the way back to the strategy and how to approach it. Hey, we do this, or we stand a certain way, or our call outs are different. We always call out this. And it's just what comes up for me when I hear these is when someone's asked to do something that's maybe outside their skill set. Not we have a new opportunity for you to try something new, but like with the expectation of, you have to execute this purpose like perfectly. Like we sent you the YouTube link. We've explained it to you. You've seen Jason do it. Just do what Jason does.
You know, it happens at work a lot, right? Not that specific scenario. It does happen at work that, you know, somebody might have to try to learn something that they might not be good at. And it's really a matter of expectations of that person. You cannot expect them to be productive in that first couple of weeks. It's just not going to happen, right? The mistake would be, oh, well, you know, Jason's really skilled at this thing. Let's get him to try this thing. And we expect the same or similar output from the team. That's just not going to happen.
Giving some grace, that really hits with me. But thinking of this, like people in the right spot, fulfilling different jobs, maybe having to change things on the fly, maybe being forced to do something they don't want to do. From an officer standpoint, somebody who has like a leadership type role, and you know you have to deal with this kind of situation, just the officer. what's something maybe you could offer them?
Support the people by not leaving them alone unless they want to be left alone. And what I mean by that is, unless somebody has the personality, some people would just go, you leave me alone, I'll figure it out. And they do. There's some personalities like that, right? That you could just, they work better alone and it's like, all right, fine.
Let me figure it out.
But most people need some kind of thing beyond just going watching a YouTube video or some training, online training at your company, right? They need to sit there and pair with other people to do the work. They need to be doing it with somebody, seeing them do it, trying it, getting feedback, doing pairing. And what that means is initially, you have to expect that the person you're asking to learn the new skill is going to be less productive. And initially, the person that is highly productive is going to be less productive because they're going to be spending half their time pairing with somebody else, not even on the thing that they're doing, somebody else's thing, right? And that is, again, the trade-off, because hopefully the decision that was made for why that was is because in the long run, you'll get much more productivity overall, right, for the team. And that's just part of the trade-off. But it's more about, hey, just training isn't going to be enough. Experiencing it is where you really learn.
What about the person who's in the seat and, hey, guess what you're doing on Monday? Or so-and-so's out, you need to cover this thing that you don't really need to. Do you have anything you could offer that member, that person who's kind of along for the ride? And guess what? You need to do something new.
You could, of course, complain about it. You could quit. There's a few things you could do, right? But if you don't want to quit and you want your job and you like your job, right? Every day I wake up and it's not like I have to do my job. I get to do my job. Like what I have and the life I have is, and I'm not a religious person, but it is a type of a blessing. It's a type of an opportunity that many people around the world don't have. And I'm just speaking for myself, but the same with probably most of you watching this video, if you're watching this, right? If you really think about it, I mean, there's like 8 billion people in the world, right? If you're watching this video, how many people out of those 8 billion, what percent have the quality of life that you have? Probably an extremely small amount. So it's all about perspective, right? Sometimes I go through cycles of like negativity in my own head, and I'm like, but when I'm thinking about it from the way I'm seeing it, everything I get to do, then I'm much happier. So that's my tip on it. Yeah.
That's a good nugget and hopefully one that people can take from it. And I hear you on that. It's like to be so lucky.
Right.
That's one of the things. I'll be having coffee in the morning, hanging out. We're enjoying the sitting outside, getting some fresh air, having a cup of coffee, orange cats. It's nice and quiet. It's like, we look at each other and go, it doesn't suck. This does not suck. Right. We actually say that. It's dead quiet for like 10 minutes. And she'll just look over and be like, it doesn't suck. I'm like, no, it doesn't suck. There's a few other kind of touch points I was hoping we can maybe touch base on. One's around the word loadout. And to you and I, we know what that means. But to folks who maybe don't play a lot of video games, when we say loadout, it's, hey, what are the different pieces of equipment, your gear that you have equipped on your character? So like, think about it like pieces of armor, weapons that you'd use, spells if you have a limited amount there, trinkets, you name it. And the reason I mention this is I saw an interaction. I was there listening to it with a group that I play a game with. And we had played through some content together, but somebody had gone out and went to extreme length to research the optimum set of gear and trinkets and spells that somebody else should be wearing. And hey, based on this research and based on my research and based on these videos and based on all of this, I think you should be wearing this trinket and not that trinket and that trinket. And I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to argue with you to force you to change the gear that you're wearing. And I'm thinking about that. You need to change, your gear. Everybody needs to use this rocket launcher for this particular encounter in Destiny, something like that. Hearing this and having people give you input on what your loadout should be, what comes up for you?
It's happened a million times, and I've done it to other people. It's all about, but usually it's in the realm of they want to know, they want to ask, right? Although I might offer a perspective, I might say, "Do you have this weapon? Because if you do, it might go easier." Now, the thing about loadouts is what you're talking about. That situation that sounds very conf- like a lot of conflict, right? And I think a lot of this has to do with the way human beings communicate, and attitude and reasons why you're asking certain things, right? So people, when you're playing these kind of games where people are spending a lot of time in this game, and if you keep failing, it's wasting everybody's time, right? So there is, I mean, logically, there is a optimal way to do something to spend the least amount of time doing something. And what happens is human beings, they get stuck in their ways of like, oh, this is the meta. This is the most effective tactics available. Basically, this is the most effective weapon you can use in this situation. Therefore, everyone must use it. And that just kills all creativity, by the way, kills the fun, right? To me, the only way that's excusable, I think there's only one time that's excusable, is if the thing you're doing is so difficult that it's the only thing that works. In that case, it's okay because it's nothing else is going to work. Like this one weapon, everyone's got to use it, or else you just literally can't do enough damage.
It won't unlock the door unless we all shoot it with this blue laser.
Right, right. Okay. Like that is an acceptable reason to ask someone to change their weapon, right? So it's context is king, I would say. And it's all about
huge.
And I'll give you a last thing. So my friends and I, when we used to raid, we have a Discord. And when we were way into the game, we'd always be watching YouTube videos or listening to different people.
Think about how many videos we would send to each other. Hey, look at this. Hey, here's a way we can cheese this. Exactly. Hey, icebreaker works if we hide here.
Right. So we would just send that. So for example, I have a friend who's big. He's like a warlock main, and he only uses warlocks. And I know that, and I know he loves his warlock. So I'll send him a cool video I watched for this raid we're doing, how this warlock is like has the best DPS, and I'll send it, and he'll watch it and he'll go, "Oh wow, I got to try that." Versus if we're in the raid and I go, "Hey, person, why don't you switch to this? Switch your whole load out, which you don't have right now. Switch all your gear because this thing is." If I watched on a YouTube video, it's totally about how you present that question.
Timing is key here.
Yes, exactly right.
So I think you bring up a good point with the challenge, or contest where we have to do this in a certain amount of time, where it's like you actually will not accomplish the goal that you're trying to.
Right.
Like while there's clarity and we need to beat this big robot or this big dragon, there's experience I had. This is early Warcraft. This is one of my earlier guilds where I was the guild leader. When I had moved up to be an officer, they were really big on we will let everyone play however they want. Like we want everyone to be creative and have fun. But there were times where someone's like, you know what, I really want to try this, I'm going to call it suboptimal approach toward my character. And we couldn't put enough damage into the dragon. And then we would hit the rage timer and then the room explodes. And we would never get over the hump. And people were like, no, the values of this group are you can play your character however you want. You can load up your character and configure it however you want. And that's good enough. And there were people in the guild that were like, but I really just want to kill bosses. But but it was a clash of value systems.
I see.
And it was like, sense. Hey, there might be times where you'd have to change it if we actually want to walk through this door and progress. And a large group of us ended up leaving that guild, forming a new one and saying, okay, we're here to kill bosses. We're here to kill bosses. We don't want drama. But it's that, I think when you said context is king, and also, how the package is wrapped. But thinking about this idea of, hey, I want you to change your equipment, or like, hey, man, there's this thing in your vault. Thinking about our product teams that we work with. Imagine now, hey, you need to use our in-house cloud implementation of this, or we've invested in AI, you're forced to use this, or we don't want you to use this tech stack. Now you have to use this as well.
Right.
Thinking about that change in your loadout. You seen any of this lately at work?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. Especially, these companies are heavily invested in AI, and and so they mandate certain tool usage. In fact, certain companies track usage
Wow.
If your company doesn't do this, you might not believe it, but it's out there.
Yeah, it's scary. I've heard about some of this lately from
and
some of my
so
friends.
At that point, you go, okay, well, I'm being forced to use this thing. Now, the thing is, like any tool, unless you know how to effectively use that tool, it's not going to be all that useful. In fact, it's going to make your life significantly worse. From the leadership perspective, they're going, look, the other companies are doing this. It's supposed to speed up productivity. Let's invest in it. And now we're investing billions or millions of dollars and tens of millions of dollars. We need people to use it, right? Okay. So now it's like, well, how do we know they're using it? Well, we're going to track their usage. Okay. The next step, right? And then it's like, all right, well, so then what it becomes is people will just click a button or use it, but not really use it. It's like extra busy work that they don't even necessarily have to do. And that's not what you want, right? So the question is, if you're investing in a new tool like that and you're mandating people to use it, how do you effectively get them to want to use that tool? That's the key. So for me, it would be someone shows me someone that's really effective using that tool and their workflow. And then I go, oh, wow, that's unbelievable. I wish I could do that. And then I'll want to use the tool, right? Oh, teach me how you did that, please. So instead of forcing and saying, Troy, you must use tool A.
You must use this.
We're going to track it and good luck, right? Or go watch some link about this tool. Okay. I'll go watch the training video and maybe I'll get something out of it. But the truth is, until you experience and use it, until you're trying on real things which are very difficult for you, that this normally takes me a day or two to do, right? Once you get someone showing you, hey, I do the same thing you do, takes you a day or two, I do it in 30 minutes, then I'll go, oh, and it's good quality. Okay, that's what I want to learn. And I will learn from you, person. Okay. And you sit down with me and teach me or whatever. So that's again, it's all about approach, I would say,
No, it's huge. What's funny is one of my friends was sharing with me one of their employees for token usage. You know what they ended up doing? They would ask a different version of a pancake recipe over and over and over for like apple cinnamon pancakes. True story. And good on those people. Well, it's really sad. We received I got a catalog in the mail. I didn't tell you about this. It was like compliance policy, very heavy-handed human resources type tools where it was like time tracking and like clock in, clock out, escalation, real heavy-handed type stuff. And I was thinking about the counter industries of, you can buy mouse jigglers that will move your mouse to make sure that or like log keystrokes, and then you have other things to like. It's like, what kind of environment have you created, and what kind of salary range are you hiring, and what positions are you putting people in, and what's the quality of person you're hiring, where all these checks have to be there, was just like fascinating. And then it's like, here we are now, back to the loadout thing. Hey, here's a tool you must use, and we're spending a lot of money on it, so you need to use it. That's what I hear from people, and it's like, man, it's kind of disheartening. So thinking about, if you're in a leadership position, that officer playing some kind of video games, from that type of person, and they're seeing like this forced usage of things, and they're getting blowback on that. What's something you could offer that person?
I mean, one thing you can do is, if you yourself are good at it, show the people, demo it for them, right? Demo effective use of it. If you have friends in the industry from other companies or internally another part of your company who are using these things effectively, come in and have them demo it, right? Do a Q&A. Like the just purely watching training videos that are more compliance based, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it scales as far as how many people you can reach quickly, but I don't think it's as effective as having a human being sit there and teach you, or at least demo for you and allow Q&A. The best thing to do is really, if you can get one good person on your team that's good at this skill, to start kind of pollinating the other people, because the teammates respect each other and they'll go, oh yeah, I watched that training video. Oh yeah, but look what I'm actually doing with the same work that you're doing. Let me show you how I'm doing it, right? That's the best way. So it's getting your kind of champions onto in your org, to spread the message positively.
Okay. Back to the hey, here's somebody that I know, known quantity. Maybe I trust them a little bit more.
Right.
That's a good nugget. Now, what if on the flip side, you're a member in this group, you're a member in the guild, and you're being forced to change your loadout? You have to use this tech stack. You have to use this new tool. We've invested in this thing. What are some nuggets that you could offer them?
You could pull your hair out, or you can complain nonstop, which could happen. But I would recommend going, okay, they want me to use this tool. A couple things I can do. I can try to maximize it. I can try to myself figure out how to best use it. If you feel like the tool is just not valuable at all for some reason for you, if it doesn't apply to your work, but you're still being asked to use it, you could try to use it for some other things that maybe it's good at, right? Summarizing things, or for example, like, what I find Copilot is pretty good at is looking through emails and chat messages. It's good at that. It's faster than I am at that.
Don't you have to give access to all of it?
Well, normally companies like the company Copilot has access to the systems. Just use it for that stuff, right? So, and then use the other stuff that you want to use if that tool isn't sufficient for the type of work you're doing. Because not every tool is the same, and not every tool is for every problem. Also, attitude. I mean, at the end of the day, I can complain about it, but I mean, I'm only making myself more miserable by complaining about it every day. It's number one. And people around me. So suck it up. The paycheck's coming anyway. Just do it. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
No, it's people are put in a tough spot with this. And, even pre-AI, like I could imagine like, hey, you need to use this new thing. Hey, this new tool came out. I remember we had a whole big problem around having this new product that did not work very well from a backup and recovery standpoint for the database that we were working on. This was custom ASPX development inside of SharePoint, and backups and restores would not work well with some of like the changes that would come down through the entity framework, ORM tools from Microsoft. This is dating myself a little bit here. But the sale was always like, look at what you can do. And then it was like, and let me show you the backups fail the moment we do this. And it's like, can we please not do this? And, sometimes you can fight the good fight. Context matters. Yeah. Another situation, because we've been talking about teams. People working together, you got a group of people. We've talked about 6-person content, 6 people in Deep Stone Crypt. We're talking about 40 people, in this big Onyxia dungeon, killing a big dragon. There's a situation that comes up, at least that I've seen, and this is what I like to call the hard carry. When I say the carry, this might be a spicy one. I have a feeling this one might be a little bit spicy.
Okay.
But imagine like 40 people. You got a 40-person encounter, and someone is just there, and they're just along for the ride. They're not even going to hit buttons. Like we used to be like, oh, this person just water skiing. That's what we would say it. It's where not everyone's chipping in the same amount. It's like you have 39 people making up for that one person not doing anything. In 25-person content, for instance, that's a little bit more amplified, where it's like, oh, that's a person who has a bigger percentage of the responsibility. In a 10-man environment, that's 10%. So thinking of that person that's just kind of along, it can be scary, because we've seen situations where, back to our conversation on mechanics, hey, everybody needs to get inside this bubble that's going to be a shield, and we have to be in the shield or the lava will fall on us and then we lose. And imagine that one person can't seem to get into the bubble, and it's like they can't, they just won't play, or they just won't play ball. I don't want to get in the bubble, and then so we never beat the dragon. Hearing this idea of the hard carry, the person who's not pulling their weight, not contributing. Have you ever seen this in any of these games we're talking about?
Yes, I've been the carry. And
You've been the carry?
Yes, I have. I have been the carry, especially in PvP games. Yeah. I think you asked about 2 different types of carries. One, which is trying, but is not good.
Trying, but not good.
That's me when I'm the carry. I'm trying my best. I just might not be good. Versus the person that's just being ignorant or difficult. The first person, because I have carried many people myself, like the first person, who want to, they're just not very good, right? Or they don't know how to do it or whatever. I don't mind that. I'm happy about that, because for me, if I know the person's trying, we're playing a game, it's supposed to be fun. Part of the fun is people learning and seeing when people are trying to do a new role and they're failing and then it actually works. They get so happy, right? And the whole group feels so happy about it that it almost probably does feel better than if we just executed the first time very easily in that specific case. You have to go into, when you're running a carry though, the mindset that we are going to fail more times than usual. And as long as you have that mindset, you're okay when it doesn't go well because you've already prepared mentally for that, right? The other side is, and I've been in part of these raid teams too, you go in there and somebody doesn't want to do what they're supposed to be doing. And that's not because of they don't know, they're not skilled. That's because they're just being difficult on purpose for whatever
I've seen people do that.
Ego, who knows, right? Those people got to go. I just won't play with those people. So either I'm going or they're going. And I would say it would be like that in work too. Like if you have people like that, there's no point in even working with somebody like that. So we'll focus on the first type of carry, which is somebody's just not good at it.
Yeah.
Right?
They're new. Maybe, hey,
right.
maybe they're new.
Right. Maybe they're new.
Maybe they're new.
Right. Yeah. Shout out to my wife.
We should actually explain what that means.
Okay.
I think no. So the reason I said this, Troy's wife, right. We actually, the three of us would play together at times, and just it would be a ball. And there were times, and Troy, I'll let you tell the story, but when you had shared it with me, it was just such a good perspective of like, how about that? So for our listeners, when she said maybe they're new, what prompted that?
My wife is so sweet, she's trying to be positive about the situation. She sees the best in people, And what happens is, sometimes I get a competitive personality while playing, and I don't necessarily always see the best in people. So what's happening is we're playing this game called Gambit in Destiny. This was years ago, COVID time. And I would play with people in Gambit that were frustrating me because they would just do things that were ridiculous. Like they would go in and try to, take down the other team and immediately die. And they would go in with the worst weapons. If you're thinking through it logically, you would never make this decision, right? So, in this series of decisions, by the way. So they would go in and do it. And then I would go, now we're going to lose, right? And I get ticked off. So talking to my wife, I'm like, what's wrong with these people? Why would you go in there with 15 motes full, not deposited, going in there with loadout, it's not going to work.
And get wrecked.
Are you trying to throw the game on purpose? Right? That's the way I would talk to my wife, not to her about the person. And she would go, well, maybe they're new. And she didn't mean that sarcastically. She was being serious. And I would go, look at her, and go, this person has been playing for 5 years. Look at her.
But from a non-sarcastic standpoint of maybe they're new.
Maybe they're new. That became anytime somebody was making those horrible decisions. She was just, well, maybe they're new. Obviously, they're not new. It's just come on, please, get it together, for God's sake. Get it together. That's the carry conversation.
I figured, look, it came up. We had to explain it to people. Because maybe they're new. Right. Maybe people will start saying this now.
Maybe they're new. Maybe they're new.
So the carry, bringing it back to the carry, maybe they're new. The person who's trying, you said, that's fun and the accomplishment, but you said the other people, maybe it would be difficult. So it's you've got somebody who is clearly being supported by the group's ahead of them. And it's we're trying to get this other person over the hump. Either they're trying and you feel good about when they're coming along, or someone's actively fighting you.
Yeah. So the people who are trying, you have to be patient with them, like in real life, right? Outside of a game. You have to be willing to teach them. You have to be willing to expect that they're not going to learn the first time you explain it. All those things, right? And that's one thing. There's also the skill differential. So sometimes in a game, there's a certain amount of skill you have to come to do something. So if somebody was brand new, it doesn't matter what I explain to them. If I take them to a grandmaster, they're just going to die over and over again. It doesn't matter what I say. They just don't have the skill. And that's like anything in real life, right? The second part is somebody does have the skill or potentially, but they're new. And you can carry them, which means that, and I think this is a good product development team thing. you can decide to carry them. And what that means is you can decide that you're not really going to teach them much, but you're going to make sure that you complete your goal. And what that means is you end up taking on way more work. That's a decision that people make all the time. You're like, I'll do it myself because it'll get done faster, right? And that person now just relaxes. They don't have to stay extra hours. They don't feel the pressure because you've taken it on yourself. Because you know if you do it, it will get done. You're essentially carrying that person. You know, if you have a competitive person, if you like to win, if you don't like to fail, your natural inclination is to carry. Because you're like, it's too much for me to teach this person and for them to learn how to do this. And then for me to trust them that they're going to do it well. So I'll just do it. I like them as a person. I don't want to see them get in trouble. They can do other things. That is a decision that you might just continue to make, knowing that the trade-off is stress on yourself, right? And extra work. And maybe I should take my own advice. The best thing to probably do is step back and say, look, instead of taking on all the work myself, I need to invest more time in explaining why this isn't going well, why this isn't right, working with the person, training them. As long as they have the right attitude about it, they'll probably get it. As long as they have the skill level. And I think that is the parallel with the gaming, right? As long as they have the skill level, if you invest the time, it should probably work. If they don't have the skill level, then it's just a longer path. And you can't, then it's your mistake for relying on them in the first place. There are certain skills that you can learn pretty quick if you have the aptitude to do it. There are certain skills that you just cannot learn quickly. And so if you go into a job where you're expected to do a certain skill, but you don't have the skill level, then there's always going to be this disconnect of caring.
So from a nuggets of wisdom, advice, things that you can offer, and I'll put some parameters and context around it. Imagine you're in that leadership type role, that officer, guild officer, and you see a carry situation happening. What's something you could offer that person? Like, you are not the leader being carried. You see it happening on your team.
Maybe the person that's doing the carrying, I might offer them some relief on the expected productivity of themselves. So for example, like, hey, you don't have to take this all on yourself, right? Like, I understand that, Jim over here is struggling, right? And you're taking on a lot of this person's work. Let's stop. Let's set the expectations that for the next 4 weeks or so, right, you're going to work with Jim. You're going to pair with him, right? And I'm not going to expect the same amount of output and speed that we normally expect of you and the team. That's totally fine. As long as somebody, and then they might feel, okay, I can actually stop and not feel pressure every day to deliver the same amount of work I've been delivering plus this other person's work.
Yeah.
Right. Now the context is, okay, I'm being told it's totally fine if I deliver less. Let me actually go help Jim for a few weeks, pair with them, teach him. This way I don't have to do all the work at midnight.
Let's say you're a member and you see a carry situation happen. So like, you're not in a leadership role, you have team members, other teammates, and you see a carry happening. Is there anything, and you're not okay with it? What could you offer that person?
I might go talk to the person that's doing the carrying and ask them like, hey, how you doing? Right? You working a lot of hours. I see that.
And they wipe the sweat from their brow. Oh, it's great. This is great.
And maybe offer, and not from a managerial perspective, just a peer perspective, maybe offer some advice like, okay, maybe we should go talk to the manager and, you want me to help? You want me to help with some of the work you're doing? And maybe I can work with Jim if I know how to do this task, maybe offer my assistance. It's one thing, I guess, if I was able to do that work.
Awesome. What's last little nugget on this carry situation? One game that I hadn't brought up until now is a game you and I have talked a little bit about that I play pretty regularly called the League of Legends. And everyone's like, my goodness, Chris Lee plays League. Some of the characters that I play have the chance to carry the entire team, where it's, okay, if I can get this rolling, just please let me get in my backpack. Here we go. And I even earlier today, like, I'm just going to lean forward a little bit. And you know what? I'm not going to rely on the people around me. I'm just going to do my best to absolutely get as big as possible and just carry this thing home, because I would like to win.
And from the perspective of the carryee, I guess that's what it is, I often feel bad. Like, I don't really want to be carried
Yeah.
in the sense of, like, I would love to be good enough to not have to be carried,
Right.
but I just don't have the skill, right? One thing to realize is that if you're working with somebody and they just purely don't have the skill, maybe they could develop it if they had time to develop that skill, right? That they probably, it's not always out of a bad thing or I don't know,
Right.
malice.
Right. There's not like I don't want to do work, you do the work, I'll pay you something on. No,
Right.
That's not, hopefully is not what you're
It could be that they actually internally might even feel bad about it.
Yeah. With all of these different things to think about, we were talking about before, not everyone chipping in the same amount, like the hard carry, people being forced to change their loadout, maybe step into a role or a job that they're not used to, different voices being heard, at different levels, arguing about how to get things done. I want to make things interesting with this last topic. Different rewards for different people. And this is the tough spot, at least in gaming. Imagine we kill a dragon, beat the big monster, whatever it might be, solve the puzzle. Sometimes everybody gets a piece of the treasure. Sometimes there's only one treasure and it has to go to one person. Like, hey, here's a shield. And then who determines who gets it? I've seen situations where it has to be rolled off, where you go /random in Warcraft, and whoever has the highest roll, you go /100. The closest to 100 gets the shield. And then a variable on that is only these 5 people can roll for it. Or leadership just says, you want to know what? Troy did a really good job, and I'm going to give Troy the shield.
Wow. Okay.
Imagine that. Now in Destiny, obviously, we all get a drop, but, back to like extraction shooters, I remember in Arc Raiders, if we're going to go into a certain building to get through a door, if one of my friends had the key, the purple key to get in the door, they're the one that gets the case. Because it's like, we couldn't be in this room if you didn't have this key. I'm just wondering, have you ever seen a situation where maybe once you've accomplished the goal and there's some kind of rewards that it wasn't spread out evenly?
In Destiny, it happens all the time. So for example, like when you're doing a raid, there's usually a raid exotic, and it is random if it drops, and then who it drops to. I remember Deepstone Crypt in particular. I did that raid like 66 times, like that, over the course of a few years, and a couple years, and eventually it took me like 66 runs to get the Eyes of Tomorrow. So yes, I've experienced that multiple times, and in extraction shooters, it's a very interesting thing you talked about. I have this one friend who is one of the best players in our group, probably top 2, and he's super fast. Like, he's always ahead of everybody. That's his play style. But since he's way better than me, I never challenge him because who am I? So it's just like he's carrying most of the time, right? So basically he's doing it, and then what happens is he always like gets to the loot first because he's super fast, and he always tends to get the best stuff. And sometimes I'll say, "Hey, person, I would really like this thing." Because that's the only way I can get it.
Before it even started.
Yes, I'm like, if you see this, can you give it to me? I just ask him. So he's like, okay. So that's usually how I play with him a lot of times. Yeah.
So just because he's faster, he's able to get the pick of what's there, like because he got to the loot first. You have no shot at it?
He could simply get there faster and just not get anything and say, hey, everybody, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Who wants what? He could do it, divvy it up if he wants.
He could do that.
Or he could go, not say a word, take the best stuff and go, oh, Troy, there's a gun in here. And then meanwhile, he's got like all the best guns, that could happen. That, probably has happened. Not probably, definitely has happened. But I don't complain because the truth is, usually if I say, hey, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, he always looks out for me, So he's good that way.
A lot of trust in that, though. Like, I could be like, is there anything on that? No, there's nothing on there.
There is a lot of trust, but at the same time, if I don't play with him or people like him, I would never even be in position to kill the other team.
Got it. With that in mind,
yes.
Can this happen at work?
Different rewards for different people. Definitely. Yeah. The way bonuses are given out, the way promotions are given out, right? It might be different for different people. There might be different reasons. A lot of times it might be based on potential. it could be anything. I mean, I guess what I mean is a lot of times at companies, the people who decide bonuses, it might be, or promotions or whatever, salary increases. It might be just totally out of your purview of why that's happened. So there is a level of trust in the sense of similar to the game where, so with the marathon situation, where you're like, all right, I trust that if I do a good job, meaning by the criteria that I'm being asked to do, that I'll be properly rewarded for it. And not everyone is going to get equal rewards actually at work. I don't know a single place where people get equal rewards. Unless you know, but I don't know. I don't know a single place where it.
Yeah. Well, because when I was thinking about this and I put this on as a thing to talk about, does everyone make the same salary? No. Does everybody accrue the same vacation? No. Some people are even on different, because you and I know organizations that, depending on where you are in the organization, you have different like health and dental plans, benefits packages.
Sure.
Let alone for accomplishing things. And, when I hear about, those dreaded points per developer, number of tickets closed, productivity metrics, lines of code written, tests pass, that kind of stuff. I think about, how these systems can get gamed, how they can get messed with. But like with the game, metaphor that we're playing with, like, I think it would feel pretty lousy if you got to see someone get a piece that you didn't. Everyone likes to be transparent all the time, but like when we kill this dragon, here's a shield and we're going to give it to so-and-so because, well, me and them go way back. Sorry, Troy. It's amazing what lengths people will go to and how they'll communicate with people and the respect or disrespect they'll show to one another.
And not everybody is equal in the sense of drive. Some people some people are happy with like, I'll just take what I get, Some people are like that, and some people are super driven about promotions and raises and wanting to advance in the corporate ladder. And I guess, and I don't think those two people understand each other. That's what I've come to realize. And that's okay, actually. If everyone was have to climb the corporate ladder, have to make more money every year, have to do like super, super driven, it would be so cutthroat that you probably wouldn't be able to get anything done. So you kind of need a blend of everybody.
I remember one manager shared with me, they said in the previous organization, the happiest day was bonus time or like raise time, where it's like, hey, this is a good thing. We should be happy. And he was like, now that I've come here, this is another organization, this is where we met. He was like, anytime it's raise day, like you would think it's the worst day in the history of the company because not one person was happy with what they received. They always wanted to receive more, or they were mad that so-and-so got more than them.
And I think that's a bad mentality. That's called pocket watching. When you watch somebody else's pockets, when you're always, how much does this person make? How much does this make? I mean, for me, I never want to know. I don't care. I make what I make. My decisions of how much I make is up to the company and me and whatever, right? But at the end of the day, what somebody else makes doesn't impact me whatsoever. So I do not care.
Not everybody has that vibe. Not everybody has that vibe. And
I just want people to be happy. At the end of the day, we're all going to die anyway. So
that's a good point. It's it's a real point, unfortunately.
Yes.
But that's a good one. That's a good one. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the things. But that idea of different rewards and all, it's just an interesting little, just like after dinner, like mint on this. It's something to think about that we see in games, we see at work. So again, back on any other kind of nuggets, thinking about that person in a leadership type scenario, like that officer, they might have some kind of influence on how the rewards, how the benefits get distributed. Do you have anything for them when maybe there will be a situation of different rewards for different people?
I think it's structure around expectations about what gets what reward. It shouldn't be ambiguous, It should be quantifiable. It should be, and if it's not, sometimes it's not always quantifiable. Sometimes it's very subjective, to be fair. But there should be a series of, goals that you're trying to hit. So if you're trying to get this type of promotion, there's this level you have to be at of skills and things you have to accomplish, right? And I think having that as a fair ground for everybody and treating everyone fairly that way, as much as possible, We're all human beings, and there's always going to be bias. That's just the reality, right? But so yeah, I would say I don't know what everyone's company's like, but
Right.
ambiguity around what gets me a promotion or what gets me a raise is a killer at companies. Like, it shouldn't be ambiguous. It should be pretty laid out and obvious for people.
And frequent conversations. It always broke my heart. Like, I mean, this is probably like the agile professional talking. Like, I mean, that's the industry we're working so much. Short feedback loops. Like, why are we having conversations once a year, if that, about how you're doing? Why can't we have those conversations much more frequently? And the pushback I hear is, well, we have all this paperwork and all this process. Like, well, why is it so hard for people to get feedback on how they're doing? And no one ever really thinks about that. But now, to flip the perspective a little bit, for the person who is that member, like, you're hoping stuff lands with you, and you see that there are different rewards for different people. What's something that you could offer those people?
Market yourself. The perception that people have of you is the truth, whether it's true or not. That's what I would say. So basically, if Chris, what I think about you, you may not think about yourself. What 100 people think about you, you may not think about yourself, because I don't see everything that you do all day. I have no idea what you do all day, Chris. I only know what I see from you. And that's what your coworkers are and your bosses. So I think a lot of times we get in our own head, wow, I do so much stuff and I carry this and I do that. But that's not how the perception might be around you, right?
You might be the person who microwaves fish in the break room every day.
Right, right. So like you,
by the way, Chris, don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, like, literally, like, you could be the most brilliant person in the world, but if the marketing around you isn't good, or if you don't market yourself well, no one's going to know it and no one's going to realize it. And I think maybe a lot of really smart people, sometimes they could be introverts. They might not like to promote themselves. That's just not part of their personality. And I think they get harmed financially because of that, actually. So think about that. Think about marketing yourself. How can I get what I'm doing in front of more eyes? How can I be seen as the guy or girl who's known for this thing? Because once you're known for that thing and it's a positive thing, they go, oh yeah, Chris is that guy, right? Oh yeah, I can always go to Chris for that because he's the If Chris is super expert, but I don't know that he's the expert, then there's no way I'm going to give Chris more money if I'm
never going to pick up the phone and call me.
Right. So, you know what I mean? So Chris has got to market himself. He's got to make podcasts. He's got to, you know what I mean? That's just the reality of the world.
Yeah.
Ultimately. Yeah. So.
No, that's good. That's good. And thinking about, different reward, not everybody wins the same amount, and that idea on marketing is good. So this has been really fun, and I want to bring it home, and I'd like to get you, I'm going to give you the last word on this one. We've been talking about games. We've been talking about, the different types of games we play, where, again, the inspiration for this conversation was, even when the objective is clear, we got to clear this castle, we got to accomplish this objective, kill this big dragon, get some loot, work together to do this thing. Even when it's clear, we still have these flashpoints, these clashes around how to get it done and who's going to do what and who benefits from it, uneven voices, all these things we've been talking about. And we see these in games, and we see them in work. And, with a lot of these great nuggets you've been sharing, it's like, hey, maybe think about this, take a different perspective. Another thing that I would offer up is you have to think about what kind of game you're playing. When I say this is that we've talked about games that had a clear finish line and a clear objective. There are games out there, and I don't play them, but they're like zombie-related games where the waves of the monsters just keep coming and coming and coming. And the finish line of these games is you're going to lose. How you win the game, you don't even really win the game. Your sense of accomplishment is how long you can persist, how long you can make it before you eventually are overcome by this endless sea. And when I was thinking about this, I would love to work on a project team that had some clear objectives. We're trying to really, really make an impact, build products that are changing the world. And I can imagine how difficult it would be if that's not the game you're playing. And your game is more like a zombie type game where it's just an endless sea of support tickets that you're just closing day in, day out. You have to think about, okay, is that a game that I want to play? Or do I want to play a different game? That's one of my thoughts. I wanted to throw your end. For final thoughts on this whole games thing.
Oh, let's say, Chris, it's all about your personal goals. right? So some people are at a point in life where they'll go, you know what? I care about stability, care about my paycheck. I want to try to pay my house off early, right? I don't really care if I'm making a big difference, a big bang in the world. I care if my paycheck is steady and I can provide for my family. And those people might be happy doing support tickets all day, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. So there's that type of work for that type of person. Now, if you're the type of person who's super ambitious, you want to be creative, you want to make a dent in the world, right? You're going to be miserable in that role. So again, life is what you make it. You have to make a choice and you have to try to pursue an opportunity outside of that, of course. So I think different games for different personalities, and not only personalities, different walks of life. Like, for example, where I'm at in life right now, maybe 10 years from now, I'll be at a different point of life and maybe I want different things. And maybe I'd be happy with a different type of role, right? So, yeah, so I think it's personality, where you're at in life, where you're at with. And also, some people are just creatives. Some people strive on, they're intrinsically motivating being able to create and have a certain level of autonomy to make a decision, right? Some people love that. Some people are intrinsically motivated by other things, right? By mastery of doing the same thing over and over and over and over and getting good at. There's many things that people are. So, for example, if you're working on support tickets all day, in a weird way, you could become extremely good at these types of things, way better than anyone else in the company. So much so that people will go, oh, we can't lose Chris because we have no way we can even do this work without him. In that case, right? That you might be doing the same mundane work, but you've become such a master at that you've carved yourself a niche at that company and they'll never let you go, right? So, and if that's what you're looking for, it's all about what you want in high life, I guess. Yeah.
You got to find the game that you want to play. And that can be dependent on the mood you want. Maybe you want the pain and suffering of an extraction shooter, like we talked about, or something else, something else. But my friend, thank you so much for having this conversation. I really do appreciate it. I hope our listeners are able to take some of these nuggets, these pieces of advice, and move into, maybe a situation where it's a little bit better, where they can rethink about, here's how I can make my situation just improve just a little bit, and maybe see things in a different light. So thank you so much, man.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you. Well, thank you for tuning in for this episode. We'll have another one for you soon. Thanks for listening. Time is the most valuable thing, so thank you for sharing some of yours. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Thanks again.